People, Deluded, I'm back again. Now, Arsenal fans, we haven't had much joy this season. We haven't had much joy in the medium, short and in the long term beyond Arteta and our admiration for Arteta and our belief in him. There's not much to be positive about in relation to the club beyond that and the potential of some of these young players. To add more pain to us or add more misery, especially going into the new year, a lot of Twitter folk and a lot of media journalists, and the latest one I've come across, Ian McGarry, is reporting that firstly, allegedly, Aubameyang has handed in a transfer request, and more or less that his representatives have informed Arsenal of the wish of the client wishes to terminate their relationship and look to join a more competitive club and keep it moving, people, allegedly in January. It goes on to say more or less that there's concrete interest from Real Madrid and Barcelona. And I don't know what to make of this, but it says Giroud, on the other hand, is open to returning to Arsenal. Now, let's speak about the Giroud thing in a second. But in relation to Aubameyang, prior to he came to Arsenal, I'm sure he said it was his late granddad's wish for him to play for Real Madrid. And I'm sure before he left and joined us in January, there was talk of him leaving Dortmund and going Madrid. Obviously, it didn't happen. That chance has come again. So if he wants to, his granddad's wish, then he can make it happen. For me, you can't begrudge him. Obviously, it sucks that Aubameyang wants to leave. He's not a world-class footballer, but he's the closest thing in our club to that in terms of what he does. He scores goals. That's his job title, and he does it to a fantastic degree. How many people have outscored him in the Premier League, if any, since he's actually commenced in the Premier League? And like I said, Aubameyang's a quality player because it doesn't matter. He scored goals. It's amazing how he's been able to score this amount of goals in the team because we'd never played to his strengths. And he's been out wide. He's actually at a period been on the bench. Obviously, he's been through the middle. The team's general players have been there. Whatever the weather, whatever conditions, 20 league goals minimum and beyond. He's a quality player. It sucks that he's leaving or allegedly wants to go, but who can begrudge him? You can't begrudge him because, to be fair, I'm sure he's got admiration for Arteta and he believes in Arteta, but the grand scheme of things, for him, being at Arsenal's an idiot thing. It's a waste man thing, and it sucks to say that, but it don't make sense. It don't make sense for him to stay at Arsenal if there is genuine offers. Obviously, people say you go to Barca, you go to Madrid, you won't be a main player. As funny as these clubs are, they could throw you out 18 months, and all of that is true, but you can't, when these offers come, they only come like once. Obviously, the elite footballers get it twice, but only once in a lifetime. He has to grab that. The age he's at, even if he's not a main player, more competitive trophies. I mean, to look back as well and say that you've played for Dortmund, AC Milan, Arsenal in the Premier League and Real Madrid or Barca is terrific, to be fair with you. This could all be worse, but it doesn't make sense him staying, to be fair, because even if Arteta does get it on point and whatnot, are the board going to adjust the spine of this team? Obviously, we've got a young side, Saka, Martinelli, all these players are promising, but all of them have teething issues. Like you've seen, Nelson is still trying to, for example, get consistency, and they've all got ability. And even if they all hit the ground running and do a madness, that's all fun and great, but they're still going to take years collectively to make us a competitive squad through no fault of their own. They're young. That's great for us, but he doesn't have time for that. It's completely different, but it's like Thierry Henry when we moved to the Emirates. He's getting on as a player. Champions League is there. We're going two different ways as a football club, where we're going as a club and where players of his should be playing. He needs to keep it moving. It sucks that it's another captain, another man that's been announced captain, and they've allegedly handed in a transfer request, but I can't begrudge him. When he came to Arsenal, obviously them times there, we was only out of Champions League for a year or two. He probably bought into the French connection of Wenger and Arsenal in general. Obviously the carrot of immediately wanting to return to the Champions League. At the time we did have Lacazette, he probably thought, we can do something here, back to Champions League and see what happens. And the club has arguably just spiralled even worse since he's been here for a year, 18 months. We haven't got anything close to a competitive side. If he wants to leave in January, I don't advocate him leaving in January, people. If the money's put on the table, then we've got to do what we've got to do. But for me, we keep Aubameyang until the summer, then we deal with it there, and he's absolutely sold in the summer if that's his case, purely because I think, like I said, him and Leno are probably the two, and a couple other players, but the only two players that are showing anything close to consistency were in the bottom half of the Premier League. So I don't know how much we can savour this season, but I do know that defence wins league titles and goal scorers make the difference. Obviously, we're not going to win the league, but goal scorers make the difference. Do you see what I'm saying? In winning games, we're going to have a far less competitive side. I don't think we can win the Europa League, but I'm definitely not sure of our capabilities if we lose Aubameyang, to be fair with you. If Barca and these teams are interested in you, then fair enough. I mean, I'd more buy the Real Madrid interest than the Barcelona one, purely because by their own standards, I know they've got Hazard, they've got Benzema, but I wouldn't say young squad, but you look at Rodrigo, Vinicius Jr., there's young Valverde, there's young sort of talent there, and Jovetic is there. Maybe Aubameyang for 1 or 2 years gives them that goal scoring thing while they rebuild. Barcelona, if they're legitimately interested in him, but it doesn't make sense for me because isn't he similar age to Suarez? You might as well go for Martinez at Inter Milan or someone like that. That's going to give you a bit of longevity because I don't know if Suarez is going to depart in January or the summer because there might be something to that if true, but it doesn't make sense for me. It'd make more sense going for Lacazette to be part of your squad, and Lacazette's not playing like anything close to getting these sort of moves. I can't begrudge him for leaving. It sucks. I don't advocate him leaving in January under any circumstances, really and truly. We just do it in the summer. We just do it in the summer, and really, we need to know where he stands. Clearly, where he stands is out of the door right now. Can't begrudge him. He's handled himself in the best way. I remember when he came to the club, there was a lot of talk from Dortmund about attitude issues and this and that, and he hasn't done any of that. If anything, he's been one of the players rallying things, and he's probably just, for a number of weeks, been plotting this now, but looked around and thought, yo, is what it is. Of course, if we can sell him in January and do some sort of business similar to when Alexis went and we got Aubameyang in, then I'm all for that. But I feel our team is weak anyways, and I don't feel it's necessarily wise to sell him in January. I'd actually be more open to selling Lacazette in January, to be honest with you. No disrespect if Lacazette gets thrown into this, because his career is in relation to Arsenal is being thrown down. In relation to Giroud returning to the club, people, I mean, it doesn't make sense. It's a bit like, shout out to David Luiz because he's been quality the last 2 games, but these sort of signings are going to cost in the long term because Giroud, listen, Giroud's been a decent player for us, but he's capped. He's not going to take this team forward. He's not a replacement for Aubameyang. There's going to be repeated frustration. It doesn't make sense in terms of his age and whatnot. You're better off going and trying either developing one of these young strikers or going and trying to spend for one of these other strikers out on the market, whether we can afford that or not, because it doesn't make sense. Like, he's not going to be a number 9 to take us forward. He's going to go through inconsistencies. At his age, I'm trying to get decent wages and actually a minimum 2-year deal with an option of a 3. I'm not going to take an 18-month contract. I might as well go somewhere else. It doesn't make sense, and I don't buy into that, but anything's potentially possible here, people. You can't begrudge Aubameyang. If he wants to go, he wants to go, but anyone who's not committed, to be fair, we might as well sell them. But I think if you look at our squad, then we have to be serious with ourselves. Like, it makes more sense to keep him until the summer, because who is going to score the goals? You remove Aubameyang's goals, who's our top goal scorer? It's technically either Martinelli or Lacazette. I'm sure it's Martinelli, and I think Lacazette's got like 5 in all comps. Do you see what I'm saying? You're taking out assurances. Like, it's a joke, man. Like I said, I can't begrudge him for leaving. But moving on from the strikers, people, and Eddie Nketiah allegedly within the next 48 hours is going to be recalled from Leeds United. He's not played really at Leeds. It hasn't been the loan spell that he's really hoped for. There's always a blessing in every L, in that it's an L because he wasn't playing, but training under Bielsa, he's a quality coach, seeing the different environment, learning, having to probably train hard every day, knowing you're not going to get a chance, and keeping your consistent levels up just for yourself and not letting yourself get demoralised. These are all things that are going to keep him going. Do you see what I'm saying? And you sometimes learn more from these things than scoring 20 league goals, or if you hear off at Leeds. It's not always the case, and I'm reaching a bit, but you look at Harry Kane. Harry Kane's banging at Spurs, but you wonder how much did his loan spells, his less productive loan spells, because he went on a few, how much they really taught him. But like I always say, minutes is currency, and he really got a lack of it. He's got, like, I believe I wrote it down, 17 apps, 5 goals. not too many starts, to put it nice. Did he actually start a championship game? I'm pretty sure no. He definitely hasn't actually played 90 minutes, a single 90-minute game. He's been given a 45, a 10, a 15 here. That's all good for the squad, but it's not good for us. Now, if Bielsa doesn't deem him worthy for starting 11, that's cool. He favoured Bamford, but for us, it doesn't help him. And I wonder how Eddie specifically feels, because he should have went on loan. It was the right decision to make, but obviously foresight is something we don't always have, and hindsight's a wonderful teacher. You see in Tyrese John Jules on the bench against Chelsea. You see Martinelli play on the left wing, but do his thing up front as well. Them two have taken their chances. You'd imagine Balogun's very closely in the thoughts. Maybe not immediate debut, but he's close in sight. I'm not saying Eddie Nketiah is out of mind, because we've got loan managers, and how can you forget someone as talented as Eddie? But I wonder how he feels. Does he want to, the next 6 months of the season, seeing Nelson, Martinelli, Joe, all of these sort of players get chances? Does he want to fight with Tyrese, John Jules, and potentially or Martinelli to get in some sort of first team minutes? Because how we're giving young players football this term, that could be something. For me, if I'm him, I keep saying it, I would have went Bundesliga, because allegedly there was interest from them clubs there, people, and top level experience is a different thing. But you're hearing Bristol City are on him. They have been on him for the longest, people, I'm pretty sure. They have been on to him since the first talk of him going out on loan. Send him there, because they're begging for him. Even now, when he turfed them and went Leeds, it's like a persist. Them dons that keep getting rejected by a girl, and they keep persisting. Like, the girl's clearly not feeling it, and they're still trying to DM and whatnot. That's how they're moving for Eddie Nketiah. So that must mean minutes, and they've got a couple young players there themselves. So if he is to go in the Championship, I believe it should go there. Obviously, I'd love him to get a Premier League loan and whatnot, but where would he go? I don't know. And if they would play him, I don't know. I think minutes is currency. He's learned a lot probably at Leeds, but minutes is currency. He needs to get games, get that confidence from playing in these environments. Because you look at Tammy Abraham and Eddie, in terms of the goal scoring attribute and how they take chances, it's probably levels. But Tammy is twice the player currently than Eddie. Why? Because he's got that senior football under his belt. Way before he's doing his thing at Chelsea. And he hasn't always been mad goal scoring productive spells, but ironically I'm sure he went Bristol as well. Obviously last season Aston Villa, way before he got a consistent chance at Chelsea, he had 60 career goals to his name, people. What does that tell you? That's experience, that's competence. And that's why I think it's not unfair to compare our youngsters to Chelsea's, but that's where it's a different ball game, because obviously Chelsea's structure is different, but it weren't like Mason Mount came from under 23s and got slapped in. He's played a substantial amount for Derby and trying to get promoted. He played in the Europa League for Vitesse. Reece James playing consistent for Wigan last season. I think he got player of the season, or he was in the team of the season or something like that. I don't know it to be true. Do you get it? They've got substantial experience. I don't always think loans are productive, but they've got experience and our players don't have that. Callum Hudson-Odoi, the one they speak about the most and is the most talented and has got a lot of ability. Why do you think he's probably, in terms of development, the least behind and not starting? Because if you look at all of them on the grand scheme of things, he has the least minutes. It's like a job, people. It's like a surgeon. A surgeon that's operated on a heart is going to be better 100 times. Is going to be better than the guy that's been in uni and just done the theoretical business, and it's his first or second time doing the practical. Do you get it? Eddie needs to get minutes and currency and get that confidence and consistency from playing against grown men in tough environments and scoring these goals. And then next season, because for me, the ideal world would have been played at Leeds, he got 20 goals minimum, and then obviously he's full of confidence, potentially come back to Arsenal and try and get us a place of sorts. Or, what's going to be the question, is it just a one-season wonder? Can he do that again in the Championship? Can he step up to the Prem or another top league? That would have been it for me. He does it in the Championship, either he does it again in the Championship, or you look at the Bundesliga, you hope maybe promoted clubs that are coming up, seeing what he's doing firsthand in the Championship, and take a chance on a season-long loan in the Prem. Obviously, playing Premier League football, you learn a lot as well. Even Tammy Abraham, I listed his most productive loan spells, but arguably his Prem was the worst one he had when he was at Swansea. Shadow his former self. Now, he's probably learned a lot on and off the field from that, and that's what our players need to get. I don't feel you should always loan young players out for the sake of just loaning players out, because everybody's different and where they go on loan is different. And I just think the way our players are developed to Chelsea's are more equipped to immediately dealing with senior football. They're physically better. They've got the technical ability, but they're physically better. They've got that competitive spirit already, because Chelsea have been signing everyone and they're winning FA Youth Cup and and below that, Chelsea have that, that tenacity already. And I feel our young players, We ain't really got that, and you need to have that in the Prem, and we're still developing physically, and we're a bit cute and stuff. Technically, we hold our own, but the other aspects of the game, in my opinion, we're behind a bit. So I'd love to see what happens with Eddie. Eddie's a new manager, so you can't begrudge him if he wants to wait out of 6 months of the season. But I personally feel it'd be 6 months wasted if he was to do that and not play. He could go out on loan and not play again, but I just think minutes is currency. He's been starved of first team minutes, not really shown what he's been able to do. So go somewhere where they're going to consistently play you people. So we'll have to see what happens, man. There's a lot of uncertainty around our strikers. In relation to the latest on Xhaka I've seen on social media, people, the latest is that it's a loan with an obligation to buy for 30 million euros from Hertha Berlin for him. So we'll see how that one develops. Hopefully we get a centre-half and a centre midfielder in of sorts, people, because, Arteta said they will sit down and have talks. Listen, we need something, man. We need something. We're like 12th in the Premier League. I don't feel we get relegated, but we can only look downwards the way we're playing right now. Obviously, since Arteta's come in, there's been an improvement, but beyond just the fact of Arteta's improving, polishing, Arteta's essentially polishing the turd right now because we are crap. Beyond that, it's not much to be positive about, but we'll see, man. Hopefully we get a result against United, man. I just want to see us, like I said in the previous vid, do what we was doing in the first half against Chelsea. And learn from our mistakes in the second half and apply that against United. But there's nothing more for me to say or carry on with, so I'm going to get out of here. People, as usual, it's a pleasure. DG.